All right, so I just got back from watching the Odyssey, the latest film from Christopher Nolan, who just released Oppenheimer 3 years ago. So now he's back. He's pretty consistent with coming out with a new movie every 3 years or so. So he is one of the last directors, I would say, that the general public knows about and will go watch a movie because he directed it. I was quite excited to watch this movie because the Odyssey is this big, grand epic, and Christopher Nolan does do epic really well. So I was looking forward to see what he brought to the table here, and he delivered. Now, this is one of those movies that I feel like my opinions on it will evolve the more I watch it. Again, I just got out of the theater, so it's still very fresh in my mind, and I've only seen it once. But with Nolan's movies, that I've noticed a lot of the time, for me personally, my appreciation for them will grow over time. The biggest example of this is Interstellar. When I first saw it, I was not a big fan of it. It kind of went over my head, or I didn't really connect emotionally with what was going on. It just wasn't for me. And then I watched it again, like years later, like 8 years later, I want to say. And for some reason, it just clicked. And now Interstellar is one of my favorites of his. Now, this doesn't happen with all of his movies, like The Dark Knight and The Prestige are movies that I've loved from the first time I saw them. But there are other movies like Interstellar and Dunkirk is another one that kind of grew on me over time. The only one that hasn't is Tenet. So I'm a big fan of Nolan, and I feel like this is a movie that I think I will appreciate more over time, but coming off of it fresh, I'm sitting here telling you it's good. You should go watch it. Is it his magnum opus? Is it a masterpiece? I think it comes close, but not quite. I feel like if it delivered a little bit more character development for certain characters, mainly Odysseus, then not that there isn't any character development, there is, but I feel like it could have been stronger. And he does this thing where there's a third act reveal that kind of puts everything into a new perspective. Nolan accomplished this very well with Oppenheimer, where he gives us a new piece of information at the very last minute of Oppenheimer that completely recontextualizes how I saw the whole movie. And he does that again here, and it works. It did work for me, but not as strongly as it did in Oppenheimer, and I think it would have worked as strongly if he, spent a little bit more time developing the characters. But that being said, the set pieces of this movie are 10 out of 10 fantastic. The Odyssey is basically like a bunch of mini adventures put together in one big long narrative. And Nolan doesn't cover all of them, but he covers the main ones. And the way he does stuff like Circe's Island, the Cyclops, the Sirens, all that stuff is some of the best interpretations of those things that I've seen ever. He does such a good job of making it feel epic and grand, and he doesn't diminish the fantastic, the mythological nature of the story. Now, you're not seeing a big bearded, Zeus throwing thunderbolts down from the sky or anything like that, but he doesn't, shy away from the things that are, supernatural in the story. And I really appreciate that because he's the type of director that I feel like doesn't love doing magic stuff, but he does it here, and he does it in a very Nolan way, and he does it very well. It's like 10 out of 10, knock your socks off. Like, I was so enthralled by what I was seeing. But then every now and then there's a bit of a break in between each adventure, and that's where the movie, I don't want to say drags because it's still good, but it can't quite match the highs of the adventures of Odysseus and his crew, if you know what I mean. But his depiction of the Trojan horse and all these big events is 10 out of 10. So I am recommending that you watch this in theaters. Watch it on the biggest screen possible. That is how you'll get the maximum amount of enjoyment. I would recommend this movie to basically anybody, just bearing in mind that it is long, and I don't think it's his best movie, but it is a really, really good one. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on The Odyssey.